Hello, welcome to this conversation that we're joined with Palo Alto to talk about SASE, or Secure Access Service Edge. For those that don't know me, I'm Jake Ross. I head up our network security sales team here at Bytes, and we're joined by a couple of the guys from Palo Alto. So Spencer, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks very much, Jake. So I'm Spencer Brenton. I'm Prisma SASE DSM for Western Europe, which is UK and I, for us here at Palo Alto Networks.
Cool. Nick?
Yeah, and hi Jake, I'm Nick Dorling. I run the SASE systems engineering team within Western Europe.
Cool, thanks guys. So I guess the first question we're going to open with is talking about what SASE is. It's a market that I guess we've seen lots of growth on over the couple of years. Every vendor is starting to, I guess, have their SASE message. We've been working with Palo Alto, I guess, for a long time in this space. So I'm really keen just to, I guess, understand what you see SASE as, and I guess what's driving the adoption within the SASE market.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jake. So really, in truth, I think if you sort of take a bit of a step back, and I think we go back to sort of pre-pandemic days and into the June of 2019, Gartner first coined this phrase, Secure Access Service Edge. Now, really what this was is with a vision that that kind of whole networking and security stack would become consolidated. But really, furthermore, if we take that consolidation and we look at kind of the delivery mechanism, it was actually what's really driving and what's really changed the network architecture has just been how customers are now embracing the cloud. So if we look at kind of where your users and your office branches are, typically all information was accessed from a single repository into, say, a data center or maybe two. But of course, as kind of explosion of public cloud and SaaS, sort of came about, that kind of model of kind of having access from a branch or from a user into a single repository no longer became viable, as users were having to trumpet and traverse out to SaaS and to public cloud, which was causing that backhaul of traffic, user experience issues, as you well know. But I think really what then really came about is how we could shift that, deliver that all via the cloud, direct to source to application, as well as then, sort of condensing that kind of the networking, the security, and aspects like secure web gateway, zero trust network access could all be delivered into that kind of single stack, as it were. Now, what's kind of been interesting really is obviously since the pandemic is where obviously users that were typically always in that branch, and whilst we saw the proliferation of cloud adoption, it's now kind of been that kind of model of that transience between working in the office, working at home. But we just seen, over the last sort of 18 months, this kind of explosion in terms of users working at home, suffering with performance issues, and the stress that's now brought onto IT teams. So of course, it's that then having that approach of, being able to identify, users' issues, being able to remediate without having kind of a really convoluted long approach in terms of actually sort of recognizing where that that user's issue is, right? Is it actually out to the application itself? Is it perhaps something that's set to a customer's router or on-prem device? Is it actually out perhaps into the customer's own data center or to the service provider? So, we've now seen that become an important part of SASE, certainly as the pandemic has grown and workforce has become ever more disparate. But now, obviously, it's interesting because obviously we're now sort of seeing this shift back to the office and to, we're now sort of seeing actually, again, a real tailwind out to SD-WAN. That's again part by, the fact that acceleration has just moved tenfold really into sort of public cloud. And again, the whole premise of the network has been reimagined really. So for us, it's very much a case of how do we kind of meet those kind of challenges, those demands in terms of, how networks really and security really should be delivered. And for us, it's a fast growing market. We're seeing so much in the way of opportunity. I think that what we are starting to see is many sort of vendors in this space sort of looking at it from a very binary issue. Whereas if you're talking about networking security being delivered from the cloud, really in truth, it's our approach that, customers really should be looking at, consolidation in that space, right? The proliferation of point products now, I think, has passed, and it's much more about how you can deliver that as a service with a single vendor, or maybe two at a push, to deliver a real best-in-class SASE architecture.
Yeah, and I think we're still seeing that as well, certainly around the consolidation. Well, I had a call with a customer the other day that the topic was web filtering solution. But actually, once we asked a couple of questions, we realized actually, okay, so we've still got the issue of backhauling traffic, and there's cloud adoption, there's users at home, a bit of a traditional network. Yes, you do need to filter the approach for web filtering, but we can certainly broaden this out to a much wider conversation. But it can now be, I guess, with one partner or two partners, rather than historically we might have had 5 or 6 partners, I guess, working across access and security across the network. So.
But it's interesting. I think obviously many sort of vendors in this space are sort of obviously where you're looking at kind of remote access to application. That application could sit in a data center, it could sit into a public cloud, it could sit in SaaS. But obviously the delivery mechanism and how people actually sort of push out to that application is interesting, because for me it's a case of, from remote access to application has always been done by a traditional VPN. And what you're seeing now is that users that are traversing out via a secure web gateway to a SaaS application, but therefore you've got sort of different security methods and controls on that traffic, right? So for me, you're not actually providing what I regard as explicit trust. So really our approach is very much a case of secure all ports, secure all traffic, secure all protocols. And that's very much our kind of mantra, really, with, everything we've always done, really, in terms of us being a security company.
Yeah, well, I guess that was one of the things I was hoping that we could, I guess, move on to is how Palo Alto are approaching the SASE market. What's your guys' approach?
So yeah, we've taken an approach to SASE which really consolidates that networking and security piece that makes up the two parts of SASE as a cloud delivered service, and that ultimately enables us to provide secure connectivity to users or devices wherever they happen to be. That could be, a user sat in a branch. It could be a user working from home because, they're a remote worker, or it could be a user sat on the beach because they're on holiday, but they, we all work in this dynamic world nowadays where we end up doing work on holidays. And really what our approach to SASE delivers is the ability to consolidate all of those legacy methods that you'd have used to secure those different types of traffic from those different types of destination sources into a single cloud delivered service that then supports secure connectivity out to the public cloud, SaaS applications, the internet, and back into private on-prem data centers, whilst consolidating all of the security posture, allowing you to sort of get a standardized approach to security across all traffic flows.
Would you mind asking, I guess, how you guys see yourself as differing from some of the others in the market? I mentioned it's kind of becoming a bit of a convoluted market. Where would you guys see, I guess, Palo Alto standing out?
So yeah, our approach to SASE is a cloud delivered solution, and that's really important for us. There are a lot of other vendors out there that claim to be cloud delivered, and what they've really gone and done is built their own data centers out. Customers don't come to us wanting us to be data center specialists. They expect us to be security and connectivity specialists, and that's where we focus. So we leverage the power of the likes of Google Cloud and AWS for delivering our service. And that gives us some unique advantages. It gives us access to the world's fastest tier 1 backbone for carrying traffic across the globe, so we can help with middle mile connectivity issues that a lot of customers face today. And it helps us be ultimately infinitely scalable. Well, we're using the hyperscalers. We have the capacity to scale to the sizes that they have within the regions. That means that we don't run into performance issues that you would historically have seen by, putting kit in someone else's data center. Spence, I don't know if you want to extend on that at all.
Yeah, I think that as well is that, for me, I think when you kind of look at SASE as a as a model, I think one of the big things that we've kind of sort of been able to do over a period of time as well is really look at that kind of security stack. And I think it's the consistency of it, because ultimately people are sort of on that cloud journey, right? Very different stages. So thinking, for example, what we've found is that customers are not necessarily looking to sort of embrace SASE overnight, but where we found our customers that are, let's say, sort of born into the data center, and actually then are able to sort of migrate to a SASE model safely because they've got all of that kind of heritage in terms of their security with us. And then it enables that kind of to push that away out to the cloud and have this delivered as a service, as kind of Nick really mentions. So for us, it's a case of we're doing with our customers right now is we're really able to take them on that kind of journey. And it's at a pace and a rate that they're really comfortable with. So, and I think that, it's been, for us, it's been sort of, over the last sort of 18 months, to give you some context, it's the fastest growing area of our portfolio right now. And, we're seeing kind of, fast adoption, which is driven part by the pandemic, because obviously I think that, users now working from home. And I think what's been really interesting, what we've seen, is that as people have moved back to offices, they've obviously recognized they don't need necessarily like the office space that they did before. And, it's that kind of change in that kind of mindset of actually the office is no longer just where people come to do work. It's actually come to where people come to collaborate, where actually we run projects based on perhaps some sort of seasonal trend. Now, when we look at kind of then how IT is built and delivered into the branch, into that kind of hub, it's done very much so. They're looking for sort of a dynamic approach. They're not necessarily wanting to have racks of compute and switches and everything else. They want to be able to have a kind of a model that can be deployed easily. Now, we can do that with our SD-WAN and then have security pushed out. And of course, it's then looking at, those applications that have ultimately delivered, and we're very much delivered from the cloud. And it's there very much looking at the performance of that and augmenting that and making sure that, users have got that kind of experience now wherever they are, right? And so, we've been very kind of intrigued to see kind of how that's looking. And it's really, that kind of model for the future of the branch very much lends itself to, I believe, kind of a SASE model and how we deliver it.
And I think what's really important with SASE is it encompasses a whole range of different capabilities that historically customers have gone and purchased point products to solve for. Our approach to SASE delivers on all of those capabilities, but the really important thing, and what we see going on in the market, is you've got customers that are going through branch and digital transformation into the cloud, but they tend to be phased projects, not a big bang, let's go turn on SASE tomorrow to enable our branch transformation or our cloud transformation. Because big bang approaches put risk into an organization. So the way our platform's built out, although we have an approach to SASE which delivers on all of the capabilities from a single platform, single management console, as a customer, you can ingest the specific bits you need on day one and then turn on extra capabilities as you go through that journey.
Okay. Yeah, it's not like we're turning the network off today. Tomorrow we're turning SASE on.
Indeed.
Wish us luck.
Correct. Yeah. No. That's.
We have had some customers that go that route, but the majority don't. They tend to stage it and inject it, take on new bits of capability as they go.
Yeah, and I think, as Spencer, you mentioned obviously about the branch offices as well. And I think we've certainly seen a bit of a change in approach there, where potentially a few years ago we were very much about securing networks and making sure networks were all kind of built into a nice mesh or whatever. But now it's almost gone slightly more user-centric, and businesses are going, I want to be able to give my employee a laptop and not really care. From there on out, they could be at home, in a branch office, in head office, in a coffee shop, and to not have to think, oh, well, if they're working in this location, now I've got this panic, or this location, this panic. It's here's a laptop, off you go, which is obviously exactly, I guess, the kind of message that we want to be pushing out. So.
Correct.
So I guess, maybe a self-indulgent question, but I guess what value do you see, I guess, partners like Bytes bringing to SASE and Palo Alto?
I really do. I still think there's a really important part for the channel, to the channel to play right here now. And I think that there's been always that kind of thing of, secure access service edge, which obviously implies that the service comes from the vendor itself. However, what I would say is that we've seen some great initiatives from our partner community, such as yourselves, in the sense of how you're actually sort of looking to drive different kind of payment models. For example, I think the customers now are very much sort of looking at how they can sort of turn their kind of IT cost into something that was always based on a CapEx to an OpEx model, right? And so actually we've worked with yourselves around some recently around some really clever kind of finance models where, the customers, had some sort of ramp payments where they've been able to sort of based on predicted consumption and utilization over a period of time. But what we've also seen from yourselves is just, the kind of deep, sort of skill set that you have from pre-sales and post-sales perspective. And that really helps with the sort of the delivery, being able to sort of take that kind of opportunity from cradle to grave. So from that perspective, I think that the channel is ever more important in this kind of new world. And I see, for what you guys do is very consultative. And it's, as customers kind of get onto this journey, so to speak, it will be very much in conjunction with, yourselves and our partner community, I believe.
Good to hear. Yeah, well, we're certainly keen, and I guess we're enjoying that consultative approach of speaking to customers, not about necessarily, hey, let's talk to you about a vendor, but hey, let's talk to you about your business and the direction it's going in, and then having, I guess, strong strategic partners in the background to back that up. So, cool.
I think from a partner perspective, that consultative approach is really helpful for the customers as well, because you may be introducing SASE into their environment delivered using our service, but actually you'd probably be involved in a whole load of other projects that the customers have. Yeah. So you have an intimate understanding of what's really going on within their environment and what the effects are of rolling out a new SASE service that perhaps us talking directly as a vendor don't have of that specific customer.
Correct. That's certainly, I guess, the approach we're trying to align ourselves to is talk to us about your business. What do the next 2 years look like? And take it away from single solution sales to let's align on this strategy. And yes, if it's more cloud adoption, we can help with that. Or if it's security enforcement, we can help with that too. So cool. I guess any other points that you guys wanted to cover off?
I think we pretty much sort of covered it really. What I'd say is that from our perspective here at Palo Alto Networks, we work very well, as I say, with you as a partner. We have a dedicated Prisma SASE specialist team. We're always kind of on hand to offer advice, to come and kind of review where you are in your journey. Please don't hesitate to sort of pick up the phone, and obviously through our good friends at Bytes, come and speak to us, because we're open and we're willing.
Thanks, Spencer. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you want to know more, obviously do reach out to your Bytes account manager or email tellmemore@bytes.co.uk. Thanks, guys.